The Crows in Tragedy by Annie Haynes. Chapter 1. The Offices of Messrs. Betchcombe and Turner took up the whole of the first floor of the corner house of Crows Inn Square. Betchcombe and Turner was one of the oldest legal firms in London. Their offices were dingy, not to say grimy-looking. The doors and windows had evidently not had a coat of paint for years. There were no lifts in Crows Inn. Any such modern innovation would have been out of place in the tall, narrow casement houses that stood square round the grass which was bound and crossed by stone-flagged walks. The front door of the corner house stood open. The tessellated floor of the hall was dulled by the passing of numberless footsteps. The narrow, uncarpeted stairs went up just opposite the door. A tall, gray-haired clergyman, who was carefully scrutinizing the almost illegible doorplate, glanced round in some distaste as he went up the worn stairs. At the top he was faced by a door with the legend Inquiries written large upon it. After a moment's hesitation he knocked loudly. Instantly a panel in the middle of the door shot aside and a small, curiously wrinkled face looked out inquisitively. "Mr. Betchcombe," the caller said inquiringly. "Please tell him that Mr. Collier has called, but that he will wait." The message was repeated by a boyish voice. The panel was pushed into its place again. A door by the side opened and Mr. Collier was beckoned in. He found himself in a small anteroom. A door before him stood open, and he could see into an office containing a row of desks on each side and several clerks apparently writing busily away. Nearer to him was another open door evidently leading into a waiting room, furnished with a round center table and heavy leather chairs, all with the same indescribable air of gloom that seemed to pervade Messrs. Betchcombe and Turner's establishment. The boy who had admitted Mr. Collier now stood aside for him to pass in, and then departed, vouchsafing the information that Mr. Betchcombe would be at leisure in a few minutes. With a sigh of relief the clergyman let himself down into one of the capacious armchairs, moving stiffly like a man afflicted with chronic rheumatism. Then he laid his head against the back of it as if thoroughly tired out. Seen thus in repose, the deep lines graven on his clean-shaven face were very noticeable. His mouth had a weary droop, and his kind gray eyes with a tiny network of wrinkles round them were sad and worried. The minutes were very few indeed before a bell rang close at hand. A door sprang open as if by magic, and the same boy beckoned him into a farther room. Luke Betchcombe was standing on the hearthrug with his back to the open fireplace. The head, and in fact the sole representative, of the firm of Betchcombe and Turner, since Turner had retired to a villa at Streatham, Luke Betchcombe was a small, spare man with gray hair already growing very thin near the temples and on the crown, and a small, neatly trimmed gray beard.